Haney Biz presents Entrepreneurs Unlimited. Here's your host, Mark Haney.
You know, people ask me, what is leadership? What is leadership? And I've always thought of leadership as influence. And influence, it can be a powerful thing. If you've got some influence, sure does help, especially when you're trying to build a business. But how do you get that influence? I think a lot of times it's by leading by example, right? Leadership is influence, and you got to lead by example. You ever see an elderly person stranded in their car in the middle of the intersection, and then somebody jumps out of their car and rushes over and starts to help push that car? And then next thing you know, other guys are jumping in and helping push, and everything is okay because that one guy jumped out of his car, right? And the other guys kind of jumped in. He influenced them to kind of help save the day for that old lady. And it makes me think that in business, so often we need to set that example, but there's people that we need to influence that don't see us every day, right? There's people that we need to influence that don't know we're the type of guy that's going to go out and jump out in the middle of the intersection and push the car. So how do you get that message across to these people? I think that's one of the keys to branding ourselves and branding our companies is how do they connect with who we really are? And it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it's important. If you want to have influence, if you want to reach your dreams, if you want to build businesses that tie to those dreams, then you've got to be able to influence. I'm sitting here with Marcus Haney. You got dreams, right, Marcus?
Oh, absolutely.
And Tom Cisneros.
I do. I've got two.
Yes. And they're not always the driest dreams in the world.
Clearly, he knows my dreams.
If I got to be honest with you guys. Now, we're sitting here talking about leadership and influence and messaging and getting that influence out. I've always thought that if you have the right branding and the right image, that your message could go viral, it could go national, it could really spread. But creating that perfect connection with your customer or with the person you're trying to influence, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do.
No, that's rare. That is rare.
But one of the things that we've done over the years that's been helpful, and I've seen this with a lot of companies, is the use of catchphrases, right? And taglines and mantras and mottos. And, these mantras, these catchphrases, they can be helpful. I mean, can you guys think of any catchphrases that come to mind?
Where's the beef?
Where's the beef? Yes, that's McDonald's, right?
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Or our friend over at Dale Carlson at Sleep Train, your ticket to a better night's sleep.
Your ticket to a better night's sleep. How about this one? If you don't like that,
you don't like NBA basketball.
Who does that? That's our friend Grant Napier. Don't squeeze the Charmin. Yeah. And for an erection lasting for more than 4 hours.
Call more ladies.
That is Viagra, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, there's, I was at the, look, we're kind of going a little lighthearted because, okay, let's be realistic. I've been to Vegas twice in the last week, there and back.
I was at back.
The ACMs.
We were all there.
ACMs, and then the three of us went back with a trade show. And then last night I was hanging out with my buddy Dave Sanders over at Rick Nelson's house for his wife. She's running for office. And so, hey, I'm a little... if we had a catchphrase for the word... for unprepared, what would that...
It's two words, actually. That catchphrase would be Mark Haney.
Today. Yes, it is. But I did stay up late last night and watched a little bit of the Giants, and I went to the Giants home opener, so I'm wearing my Giants gear today.
You got the colors going on. That's
because
awesome.
Together we are Giant. That's the Giants catchphrase.
There you go.
Together
okay.
we're Giants. So, but how do you make a catchphrase catchy? I mean, how do you make it stick? Any thoughts on that?
Oh, first of all, you've got to have an incredible creative team.
Okay.
That's imperative. And I think test, right? I mean, you get a bunch of people in a room,
Yeah, I think you have
Buy
to
them a
find something
Subway
that.
sandwich.
There you go. I think you have to find something that applies to the masses. So
Eat fresh. There's another catch.
we
Yeah.
are giant. Together, we are better.
Yeah, yeah. And I think identifying who your audience is huge. If you want it to go to everyone, that there's some products and some messages that really need to go to everyone. If, Tom, you guys are in the gaming industry, at SSI, you sell to casinos, so you really want to get your message out to buyers of surveillance cameras. It just depends on the message. And I think coming up with this, Marcus, you brought up collaboration and coming up with these catchphrases, if you will, to make them stick, they've got to be memorable.
Absolutely.
And in creating something that's memorable, it's important to connect. And the best way to connect is through the emotion, right? So if you can tap into somebody's emotion, whether it be anger, surprise, sadness, happiness, humorous, fearfulness, it's those emotions that really connect us to that message. And so finding a way to tap into those emotions, that's what makes things more memorable. And so I think that's a challenge as we sit here and try to figure out what the best way to get a message out. We've got to figure out a way to tap into those emotions so they do catch, they do stick, and you remember them for years. There's message. We talked about a little bit at the beginning. Things that kind of stay with you. We all knew some of those catchphrases.
Right.
We recognized them because they hit us at a time where we were maybe excited at a Kings game and it stuck, and then they were repeated. And the way that these things go viral is when what I like to call they get respiration, right? Where they end up getting a life of their own, and it takes somebody breathing in the life for that message so that it kind of catches fire.
Right. True.
So, it's got to be catchy. It's got to be memorable. It's got to be something simple and easy to say. I'm going to test you guys on a couple of memorable messages. We're going to do a little 3-question challenge here as we see if you guys remember these brands, these famous brands, just real quick before we get our guests on here.
I'm uncomfortable already.
Okay, well, you go first then.
tests.
Perfect. Okay, so the first 1 to 3 wins, and I'm just going to see. Now, you tell me who said this and what company it's from, Tom. I'm going to see if you got this. If you don't get it, then it'll defer over to Marcus.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Stay hungry, stay foolish.
Oh, for crying out loud.
I did not share the answers with you.
No, you didn't, which is just
Our listeners are going, oh, no.
You know
who
what?
is this guy?
I don't know that.
Okay, Marcus, go ahead.
Is that Steve Jobs?
That's Steve Jobs
From Apple.
Apple. Okay, so Marcus, you're up.
Young man wins.
1-0. Okay. Okay, here's one for you, Marcus. The ultimate driving machine.
I believe that's BMW.
Oh, 2-0. Okay,
So you give him the easy
okay,
one.
so here we go. Tom, back to you. Baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and
Chevrolet.
that. Okay, you got it. Okay, all right. So it's 2-1. Marcus for the win. Less filling tastes great.
Oh, man. Weight Watchers?
Tom, you got that.
Actually, it's tastes great.
Less fill. Oh, you got me. I didn't even look it up. This
Yeah.
okay. So you know it.
Unfortunately, I can't remember what it is.
tastes great, less
but
filling.
but
Okay.
that's how it is.
All right,
Oh,
let's-
wait. Isn't that Miller beer?
Light beer from
Light-
Miller. Okay,
okay,
2
there
to
we
2
go.
for the championship right here. Okay, as we get through this segment as quickly as we can. Okay, Marcus. This is Marcus. Here's to good friends. Tonight is kind of special.
Jack Daniels.
No, good guess. Tom.
Here's to good friends. Tonight is kind of special. The beer with more. It's. I'm honestly thinking that's Miller again.
I think it's Lowenbrow, isn't it?
Oh
Let it be
no! Let
Lowenbrow?
it be Lowenbrow.
McLobe.
You know, I think it's Lowenbrow.
Okay, we're going to end this one on a tie, and we're going to get ready to bring on our first guest. And we have a couple of great guests today. It's gonna be fun. Coming up in the show, you will meet 2 young guns from Chico, Mitch Gardner and Rob Richardson, the founders of Pocket Points. But first, you're gonna meet John Kruger, Executive VP of the Greater Sacramento Area Economic Council. And we have a special treat today. we are going to have my friend Dave Sanders is going to come in here to help me out. Dave is a well-known angel investor and the CEO of World Bridge Partners. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited, Sports 1140 KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at handybiz.com. We are here with John Kruger, Executive VP of the Greater Sacramento Area Economic Council. And we're also have the privilege of having Dave Sanders, the CEO of World Bridge Partners and a well-known angel investor. How you guys doing today?
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for having us on.
All right, how about you, Dave?
Doing great.
All right, so Dave and I, Dave's been on the show. You guys may have remembered Dave from sharing his information about angel investing and how angel investing works. And we're going to talk today about Sacramento region and how the Sacramento region is really poised for some great things in the future. And so we're here with John, who is helping drive some of that. Now, John, welcome to the show. And let me just ask you one question just to kind of, you came in today and you spilled some coffee on yourself. And now, are you recovered from that?
Yeah, I think I'm okay now. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay, good. So everything's going to be okay. I'm a little unprepared. We've got Dave here to help me. But John, why don't you tell us about your organization and what you guys are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me here today to talk a little bit about our organization, the region. It is a phenomenal region. We are so lucky to be here, I think, as people, population. The organization is about a year old now. We merged with a group that's been here supporting economic development for about 40 years. So we're very lucky to have done that. Our organization is a private and public partnership. We have funding that comes from 17 communities, 4 counties, 13 cities, as well as a number of private sector CEOs that really came together a couple of years ago and decided they really wanted to create some momentum around job creation, economic diversification here in the market. And so far it's been really good. The messaging has been, Sacramento is vibrant. Sacramento has entrepreneurs. We have the spirit. We have a good work ethic. We have a great population, and we've been able to communicate that to a little over a couple hundred meetings in the Bay Area, and it's sticking well.
So now, when you communicate that to the Bay Area, is the idea to try to recruit businesses or influence people in the Bay Area?
Well, I think part of it is a perception piece. It's a brand. You talked about it earlier. It's branding the region is a large part of what we are doing to try to get the message out that whatever you perceive Sacramento to be, if you're in Chicago right now, if you're in Los Angeles or the Bay Area right now, I can almost guarantee you don't have it correct.
Yeah.
I haven't grown up in Los Angeles myself. I know I didn't have it correct.
What was your image of Sacramento and our region?
I really didn't have one. I knew it was the state capital. I'd done 4th grade in California, so I knew the capital. And, that's right. I knew where it started, and so I knew the history. But I think we just didn't really think about it. It just wasn't an option. And still today, telling friends of mine from growing up that I was moving to Sacramento, getting back to California, and the answer was mixed. Oh, good, California, maybe I'll see a little bit more, and Sacramento. And so we're changing that because Sacramento is awesome. I've been here a little under a year now. My family loves it. My kids love it. We're spending $4 billion in revitalizing our downtown. It's been absolutely fantastic. We'll spend another $6 billion over the next 10 years. That's reinvestment in an urban core that really drives the entire market because it drives where families are going to end up going. Millennials, this whole thing about millennials not ever buying a home, it's 18 to 28-year-olds don't buy homes. I didn't buy one when I was 18. I don't know very many 18-year-olds that buy homes or 22-year-olds. They don't know what they're going to do.
Now, Dave, you and John know each other. Talk to us about your relationship and how you guys know each other.
Well, just having had a chance to collaborate with his organization, and obviously I was somewhat involved with bringing Barry Broom here a year ago, and John had an opportunity to work with Barry in the past, and so followed him over to help re-energize the economic development efforts here locally.
And you mentioned Barry Broom. Can you give us an idea of who he is?
Oh, yeah.
He's known, but just for our audience to make sure they know.
Eventually, we're going to get him in on this show because nobody can tell the Barry story quite like Barry does. But when this new organization was being formed and the CEOs were getting together, they really wanted to do a nationwide search and reach out to some of the better operating entities across the country. So we literally went out and started with a target list of about 400 to 500 people, and then ultimately were able to recruit Barry from Phoenix.
Okay.
Barry had been in Phoenix for about 10 years. He moved, I think, something upwards of 250 companies to the region. So he had a successful track record. He was well thought of. He had a prior relationship with the mayor. So put all of these pieces together and getting him to come here has been a major boom.
So now Barry, John, you and Barry have teamed up to launch this new enterprise, this new organization.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so we're very excited to have been doing it now. Our inaugural fiscal year started in July, and we've been very pleased with the results, both in attracting companies, helping local companies expand, which is also part of our mission. And it's been great. It's been a great economy.
Now, how do you measure those results?
So we have some very clear metrics, and that's part of the difference between our organization and a lot of regional groups across the country. We're very heavily, I'll use the word metriced. So we create measurements of jobs, measurements of payroll. We also look at square footage, absorption. We look at a couple different measures in terms of saying, success will be X number of jobs. It will be moving the needle around payroll. And so we have measures of all of those that we track on a monthly basis. We kind of look at where we are.
When we come back, we're going to talk more with John and Dave about the future of Sacramento, how these metrics are going to shape the future of our region, and a little bit more about the branding component and the catchphrases and the branding aspects of building a region like we're building here in Sacramento. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Sports 1140 KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at HaneyBiz.com. We are back with John Kruger and Dave Sanders, who are taking leadership roles in building out the new Sacramento and making it the vibrant economy for entrepreneurs. And John, we're talking about metrics, right, and how you measure your success. And we've also been talking about branding and the image. Let's start with branding a little bit. What is do you guys have a catchphrase or a slogan that you guys use?
Yeah, I think we do. We have several that we use. The new California dream, Sacramento, the next great thing out of California. So I think there's a few that we use. And part of it is, what is the audience? Where's the audience from? And that'll change our tagline. We spend a lot of time in the Bay Area talking. And I want to make it clear that we're not in the Bay Area trying to convince all of the companies in the Bay Area to leave the Bay Area and come out here. But before they consider taking jobs out of the state of California, I want them to look at the options in California that we have to offer. And I think Sacramento can save California jobs, both Bay Area expense and California jobs.
Right. Isn't the cost of living so much lower here than it is in the Bay Area?
Yeah, we took one company who was looking to move a division, and over about a 20-year time frame, we've saved them $220 million. Over 20 years, just in base wage and real estate costs.
Wow. Now, Dave, you're an angel investor, and you're involved with bringing guys to Sacramento. And I'm curious from you as to what industries are most likely to gain benefit from being here in Sacramento.
Well, I think any growing early stage company can benefit from living here. What I look at is, we've invested in several companies that are currently located in the Bay, but as they look to expand and they're getting expansion capital, now they're going to hire an additional 5 to 10 people. They need more space. That's when they start running into roadblocks in the Bay Area, and they look at the true cost of doing business. We represent a fantastic alternative. And I think, John, would be great if you can kind of expand upon some of the data and the analytics that you guys are able to pull together, because I think it's pretty unique for an organization your size.
Yeah, so we spend a lot of our time. I mean, it's about a third of our staff is all in research on the data and analytics side. So we spend a lot of time comparing markets nationally, looking at competitiveness issues, demographic issues, educational attainment. So, we look at a lot of those things and compare ourselves to not only the Bay Area, but the entire California. We look at graduation rates. And Sacramento has a long way to go before they are everything to all companies. But, I think from a lot of things, helping Sac State and UC Davis, embed their student and get their graduation rates up and embed them into our market are going to be a top-tier goal for us.
How important is the graduation rate in high school and in college? to the growing the region?
Oh, it's really high. When you talk about entrepreneurism, when they move from 4 or 5 people that are in a startup company, and they're going to add another 10, 15, 20 and grow, they want to make sure they have the right skill sets that are here. And no matter where they started in their educational attainment, they've come up with a great idea. They've overcome what they need to. They've adapted. They've created a company, but growing and sustaining that growth is going to require the skill sets. And you can't always pull that from outside of the market. You need to have inside a pipeline, a workforce. And that's where the importance of Sac State, UC Davis, the other universities in our area, those are very important for us to support and get that workforce pipeline, educated pipeline into our market.
You mentioned at the beginning of the first segment about 4 counties being responsible for the funding. How do you get your funding?
So it's about 80% privately funded. So we have a group of about 34 or 5 CEOs now that are in varying degrees of annual support for the organization, most of which who are now on our board, and then the 17 communities are at a per capita basis. So the skin in the game is equal across the board, no matter the size of the company.
Okay, understood. So yeah, we have some. I'm out in the Rockland area, and we've got William Jessup University out in Rockland. We've got Sierra College, and they're really helpful in the South Placer region. How do you guys view the South Placer region in importance as relates to the overall Greater Sacramento area? Yeah,
South Placer. The biggest thing I think for us as a region is the ability to continue to grow. You look at what's happened in the Bay Area. The pricing in the Bay Area isn't necessarily just because it's a great market. It's because it's a great market that's constrained geographically, constrained by measures that they have put into place to reduce growth. If you reduce the growth, you increase the costs. And having an area like South Placer and along 50 corridor, Folsom, there are a lot of places, Elk Grove, there are a lot of places in our region that long-term growth is going to be possible. When that long-term growth is possible, it keeps our real estate costs down. So we'll continue to be able to grow and be reasonably priced. It's a sustainable model for us where it has not been in a lot of other places in California.
How important is professional sports to the growth of Sacramento?
Professional sports, it gets your eyes. It's part of your brand. It's arts and culture. Sports are a very important part of what, especially now when you talk about entrepreneurism, when we're talking about, and we have a goal of bringing 200 new young companies here to the market over the next 10 years. So that market, they want to come to a market where they have something to do other than their work.
Yes.
They want to be able to leave, and our downtown arena, we get something around the soccer. We have the Kings Arena open here. They'll be able to go to just about anything at any point in their life. And you know what? 90% of them go right back to work afterwards, and they keep crunching away. That's just part of this entrepreneurial world.
Hey, we only have a minute left. Dave, any closing thoughts as we wrap up our discussion about entrepreneurship and the Sacramento region?
Yeah, I think I just want to expand a little bit on the branding issue. I think one of the big things that Greater Sacramento has done a good job of is pulling all the counties, cities, and municipalities together to really start to market the region as a whole. So it's less about Elk Grove competing with Roseville, but really selling companies on coming here in the first place and taking a look at this area and understanding all the aspects of what we have to offer. Then let them look and decide where they want to be. NRC Manufacturing is a good example of that. Here's a company started in Fremont, 16,000 square foot of space, doing prototyping for companies, and they see huge opportunity to expand. Originally, they were going to expand overseas, and they had an opportunity to meet the mayor of Elk Grove and work closely and collaboratively with Greater Sacramento, and made a decision that Elk Grove was a better place to expand. And ultimately, over the next 5 to 7 years, they could have 25 employees working here.
Very, very helpful, very interesting information, gentlemen. And this reminds me of our slogan, which is the power of with. Together, we can do so much more than any one of us can do alone. I'm Mark Haney. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Sports 1140 KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at haneybiz.com. Welcome back, and we are here with Mitch Gardner and Rob Richardson, the founders of Pocket Points. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
thank
All right, now, two young guys. My understanding is you guys have built a business that forces, or I would say encourages, college students to turn off their phones while they're in class. Is that about the size of it?
Yep, sounds about right.
All right, so Mitch, I'll start with you. Now, we got Mitch and Rob. Now, you guys are the co-founders of Pocket Points. Mitch, who does what around there? How do you guys get this thing going?
Oh, we just party all day.
You guys,
no, Rob and I, we first started, and Rob was a computer science major, and I was a business marketing major at Chico State.
okay.
And, it's kind of the perfect combination, right?
Computer science meets marketing.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Okay, love it.
So, Rob's the genius in the house, and
Okay.
he put together the app, and we started going around and talking to teachers and talking to focus groups and figuring out what really we could do. And at first, we thought it might be something for the teachers to use as an incentive to keep students off their phones and maybe give extra credit or in-house incentives. And we decided to do a little bit of a pivot and work with the small businesses in the community. So we realized these small businesses are doing coupons in magazines and newspapers, and we're thinking coupons they kind of have a negative connotation, right? It's like your mom's cutting a coupon out of the paper, put it on the fridge.
Yeah, like a cheapskate. Using
Right,
a coupon.
right. And no one uses coupons. But we knew college students like free food, obviously.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, you guys get hungry.
Exactly. So we figured, well, we could do that. We could do coupons, but we'll make them a little bit more interactive and 21st century, right?
Right.
And so we started working with some small businesses and got some great deals on the app and launched at Chico State, and it's been phenomenal ever since.
Paying people to pay attention in class. I could have used that. I can't lie. Now, Rob, you are the genius behind the technology. How did you put this together?
Yeah, so when Mitch and I first met, we had done a couple things in the past. I had made a couple apps in the past and just knew that, something could be done. And Mitch being really involved with the community in the school and the business team, that we got really close with the entrepreneurship club on campus. So we had a lot of people helping us out from day one. And we've failed in the past. We've had, our failures. So we knew, let's try to do as much as we can. Let's get as much input, as much help, as much advisors as we can, and had a lot of people pulling for us. So we really just put our heads to it, and college was the time that we could spend a lot of effort without a lot of downside and negative. So
Right, the startup costs were really low for us.
Yeah, but one of the guys you brought in was a guy named Dave Sanders. You guys ever heard of that guy before?
No, never.
We got Dave sitting right over here next to us, who is a well-known angel investor. Dave, jump into the conversation here. What prompted you to get involved in Pocket Points?
Well, there's a entrepreneur that happens to live in Chico by the name of Chris Friedland, who has been a serial entrepreneur. Most recently started a company called Build.com that competes aggressively with Amazon, believe it or not. And it was through our relationship with Chris that we got introduced to these guys. So we came in fairly early in the process. What would be interesting is to get their perspective over and above the money side of the equation. As you guys were looking to raise capital, tell us a little bit about what that experience was and how much the money meant to you versus other things that came as a result of some of the relationships that you built.
Right. I think a lot of people just hear about the money side when thinking about raising capital, and it's obviously the money. You need cash, right? Cash is king to grow your business, to do anything, to hire people. And what we've realized in this process is it's more important to bring on the right people as far as your investor, because there's money all over the place, right? You can get anyone to give you money, but you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. You want the right people and the right team, and we've been so fortunate because, like Dave was saying, Chris Friedland, who's just such a brilliant entrepreneur with Build.com, and he's had other successful ventures. Being our first investor has really guided our thinking because we're so young, right? We're just out of college and we were in college when we started, and so we needed that guidance and that help. And having the right investors at the right time for us really made us, swim in a situation where it was sink or swim.
Well, you talked about complementary strengths. So you and Rob obviously have complementary strengths. There's not as much overlap as with some business partners. But then you bring on the financial side of things. Who does what around there? Your marketing, your technology, and then the advisory group. Do you have a board of directors?
Yeah, so we didn't have a board. Well, it was just Rob and I on the board for a while, just keeping it really simple. And lately we've put together a board, because we're obviously growing the company and just got to formalize things a little bit. And Chris is on our board, and we've been talking with a really great guy who Dave introduced us to, Craig Lavra, who's used to be the CEO of Sports Chalet and president for a while, and we're probably going to end up bringing him on the team, and so that's been really great. But as far as marketing and computer science, we have a really, really great team, right? A few of the guys are actually in the building right now, and
I see some of your team. How many guys you have? How many teammates you got?
We've got 15 right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So one thing, I was talking about it last night. We had to hire really fast, and we had to hire inexperienced people, right? Just like Rob and I. And we could have gotten in a lot of trouble by hiring the wrong people, but we've been really fortunate to hire people that we believe they would be good, but they actually were good,
Yeah.
So,
and they share your commitment to building something. Now, where do you guys see this business going over the longer term? Where you brought in a foundational team that is committed to a vision. What's that vision?
Yeah, so for us, when we started the app in the company, it was the distractions of cell phones. Phone usage is so prominent in everyday life, and Mitch and I saw that in person, being in the classroom in lectures of 150, 200 students, where half of the students are looking down on their cell phones, and we realized, okay, this is a problem we clearly see now, and we can solve this issue, and that's how we launched it. We did focus groups, found out how can we minimize the issue, and realizing that once we launched it, that this thing is bigger than just in the classroom. Phone usage is huge at the dinner table, in any social settings. And so that's where we, really want to take this company and know that, there is a time for technology. Technology is great. We're using technology to stay off technology. So we have to have, the balance of technology and not technology. So we've, really think that there's a time for it and a time not for it. And we're really pushing for, incentivizing, that perfect scenario in everyone's mind.
So the scalability is really around keeping people off of their phone. I call my telephone. Keeping people off their mobile phone.
Right.
And obviously in class, we want to keep our children or our students off of the phone. Now, where else would you want to keep people off the phone? Where are you thinking?
Right. So, we're obviously focused on the college market, right? And it's been great for us because we were in college and we knew exactly how to attack that market and address those users. And we're going to stay focused on that. But there are those other areas where we can implement pocket points. And we're going to be running a few pilot tests here and there, because we want people to be able to use pocket points before college and after college, right?
Oh, okay.
So, the easy one is high schools, right? High schools is big for us. And then, when you get out of college, everyone goes and gets a job. And when you're working a job, you can't be messing around on Facebook or Snapchat or whatever.
Right.
But people still are.
So turn off your phone when you get into class, and then if they turn off their phone, then you would reward them with not a coupon, some free food.
Yeah, we don't call them coupons, we call them gifts.
Gifts.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I love it. Wow. I could definitely see that working, say, in a call center environment, and you've got to keep people, production-wise at their highest level.
Every minute's, pennies and dollars. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, as an investor, how am I going to see a return? How is a guy like Dave going to see a return on this?
Well, just with any business, right? An investor is going to see a return when you either IPO or have an acquisition. So it's not any different with us, right?
What's the plan?
Well, everyone always asks, what would you rather do, IPO or acquisition? It's like, well, I think that's one of those good problems. Right?
You guys are living the dream. How old are you guys?
I'm 15.
I'm 21 and Mitch is 22.
21 and
23.
20.
Come on.
Oh, 23.
I keep telling people
23.
it's my Jordan year. It's my Jordan year. I'm 23.
I mean, you guys are living the dream. Chico State, partying Mitch is partying all the time. I think Rob's doing all the work. I just have that sense that
Rob's the sober one. In the group.
I just have that sense that Rob's getting all the work done, and Mitch is out there making all the sales. But you guys are living the dream. I mean, people talk about doing what you guys are doing all the time, but a lot of times it's talk. Right. It takes some ingenuity and some huevos and some, gumption.
Well, we've always talked about it, and the biggest thing, or the most important thing that we did when we started, is we took action. We were very action oriented, and whenever there was anything that needed to be done, right from the very beginning. Whether it be going and filing our LLC papers or going and printing out stickers or whatever it was, little things, we always did them right away.
And when we started this, we knew that, the idea and planning and all of the business model and planning, that's all talk and nothing can ever come of that unless you execute on it. So we know that, a great idea is worthless until someone executes it. So we knew that a lot of people, want to be in a situation like this and struggle to start a company. And the biggest thing is that you just got to go. You got to do it. And us being so inexperienced and not knowing rules actually has helped us out a lot. And, we can break things and do things and learn on the job. So it's great.
A great idea is worthless unless you go get it done.
Right.
Rob, I know we're recording this. I'm going to write that down on my wall. I love it. Words of wisdom from Rob Richardson. I want to thank you and Mitch for coming on the show. I want to thank Dave for joining us as well. Dave Sanders, angel investor. And I really look forward to watching your guys' progress and watching you guys build something right there out of Chico. Really, really cool. And I may have to come see you as a customer to keep our employees are 100% productive. But in case we ever ran into any that needed to be monitored, we would come see you guys.
Give us a call.
We'll give you a call.
Have to travel quite so far in the future to go find them either.
So I want to thank. I got somebody saying something here. Oh, you guys. Okay, so there's somebody holding up a sign over here that's prompted me to ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
What would it take to get you guys to commit right now on the show?
No, I will not marry you.
To moving to Sacramento, moving the business to Sacramento, and then marrying me. Okay, let's just go with the move to Sacramento. Okay, Mitch is already taking. He takes the date to a new level right off. Okay, Rob, maybe I should work with you on this. What's it going to take to get you guys to move to Sacramento?
Well, Sacramento is great. We've been here. We took the company here yesterday and had a great tour of Sacramento. Dave's been really pushing for us, and we've had a lot of people on our side in Sacramento, and we love the city. And we just really want to make sure that it makes sense for our business in the long term. And we're trying to do the best thing for our business and trying to put our biases aside. So whether it's Chico or Sacramento, we know that we want what's best for our business. So we're really pumped about Sacramento and love the city. And it definitely can be a great opportunity for us to grow into.
That's great. And we would welcome you guys with open arms. Mitch, I'm going to be a little careful welcoming you. It sounds like we might have a little connection going on. So I don't want to make my wife is listening. I don't want her to get jealous. So anyway, thank you guys for being on the show. Dave, thanks for investing in these guys. They're a lot of fun. I know that it's got to be fun working with you guys. So hopefully you guys end up staying in touch. So we look forward to that. I want to thank our sponsor, Limitless Limo, which I think you guys would enjoy as well. Limitless Limo, LL916.com. That's where the big dogs like to ride. Even 6'4" Snoop Dogg enjoys Limitless when he is in town. Next week, we have Dave Lucchetti coming up. Dave is the longtime president and chairman of Pacific Coast Building Products. Pacific Coast and its affiliate companies are well respected as a shining example of corporate citizenship. Also next week, we are going to meet my good friend, Michelle Halston. She is an M&A attorney. She knows everything related to business, and she's going to share her information about guys like you that are building startups. She represents a number of guys like yourself. They were doing startups, and she does mergers, acquisitions, and all kinds of stuff. So, Tom, how much time we got in this segment? We are out of time. We are going to be back in just a minute with some closing thoughts about building your brand. I'm Mark Haney. This is Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Sports 1140 KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at haneybiz.com. And welcome back. You know, I had a good time with these with all the guests today. Very fun and energetic group, and it really makes you think about, you know, that's something that you need to do as a business. You got to have fun, and so, you know, at our companies, we're throwing a party where people love to come, and these catchphrases, they're important in shaping the culture. They're important with the connection that you have with your team, with anybody you're trying to influence. And so as we think about influence, you know, it's that connection that makes such a difference. And, you know, last week we were talking about the power of with, and we were talking about hometown patriotism, which is near and dear to the hearts of the Allegiant Giving Partners, my companies. And it made me kind of think about a few things that I didn't get a chance to get out last week. And the Allegiant Giving Partners, we're working on some scholarship stuff right here in our area. And we're going into schools and we're picking out leaders and we're giving them scholarships, because the leaders, like these guys from Pocket Points, these leaders these guys when they were in high school, these are the leaders of our community, of our country. And if we can identify those young leaders early, recognize them early, reward them with scholarships or funding opportunities like what Dave Sanders has done, man, that makes it such a much stronger community. I mean, those are the kind of guys you want living next door to you. Those are the kind of guys that you want to be around. They're good for our community. They're driving innovation. They're going to be driving jobs. They're not just good for the economy. They're good for the community. And I think as Allegiant Giving Partners, we're going in and we're recognizing those leaders in the high schools. We're working with Roseville High School. We're working with Rockland High School. We're working with Lincoln High School. And the Allegiant Giving Partners, these small businesses and larger businesses as well, we're going in and we're identifying those guys. So I want to thank Jerry Wallace in particular for helping launch that Allegiant Giving scholarship program, where we're going in and finding tomorrow's leaders. A lot of times scholarships are based upon academic stuff, or they're based upon, you know, being a great football player. Well, our scholarships are about leadership. We're about like Mitch and Rob. It doesn't matter if you're a straight A guy or the captain of the football team. If you're a leader, that comes out like it did today with these guys. And, you know, the other thing about that I didn't mention last week in talking about hometown patriotism, you know, I talked about, you know, people go off to war. That's patriotism. And as you really understand what that is, it gives you a better sense as to what true patriotism is all about. But hometown patriotism, there's guys that are not going off to war, that are too old or are just not meant to be going into the service, but they can still do something. We can all do something. And, you know, my mom fell over the weekend. And my mom, she's been sick for a long time, but she fell, and my sister, I was coming back from Vegas, and I wasn't there, and I just got to thank my sister for taking her to the emergency, or they called the ambulance and they took her to the emergency room, and they took her over to Kaiser. And they have a tagline that's Thrive over there at Kaiser. And you drive down the billboard, and it's kind of motivational to see that Kaiser Thrive tagline. But they were living it. When I got over there, coming back from Vegas, there was a nurse, Gail Sims. Her shift ended at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. She's in the middle of the night taking care of my mom, making sure that my mom can move around and, you know, and be a little bit more comfortable. And, you know, these people that work in the emergency rooms at 3 a.m, you know what? You looked at the doctors, the nurses, the people that are staying up all night to help people that are having a tough time. In my book, that's hometown patriotism, right? Patriotism it shows up in different ways. And, you know, I just want to thank Kay Sims was her name, or Gail Sims, I'm sorry, was her name, and never met her before, but the nicest lady in the world. you know what? She didn't have to do that, but some people choose to give of themselves. And I think that's what the Power of With is all about. That's what this show, we're trying, we know a little bit about coaching football. We know a little bit about building businesses. But you know what? Together, we can build a community that's different, that's special, that puts our region on the map as something different. And, I just got to say, you know what? As we look at this, catchphrase day and how we decided to talk about that today. At the end of the show, every week we talk about this. We mention this one catchphrase, and it's every time, and I think it's who we are to our core. And it came from my son Marcus, and as he was getting ready to the night before they deployed to Afghanistan, we were buying dinner. And I was buying dinner for all these Marines as they were getting ready to ship out for war. And I gave this I felt it was pretty motivational speech. A lot of people crying. And at the very end, my son Marcus gets up and says to his brothers and to their families, he says, "You know how we do it, guys." And he held up his mug. He held it up high in the air. He says, "You know how we do this, you guys." And he said, "Never above you, never below you, always by your side." And we live by that.